Hi, Glenn Winnie here from Knight Frank Fraser Coast, and I'm here with John Bone to discuss commercial real estate.
Hi Glenn.
John, you are the leading salesman with Knight Frank Fraser Coast, so what's your secret? Coffee. Coffee? What's coffee got to do with commercial real estate?
Well, I am glad you asked. I would have to say a heck of a lot.
John, I don't understand. Isn't real estate about getting listings and selling them to customers?
No Glenn, not really. That is the process which gets you the end result. But there is much to do before you get to that stage.
John, tell me more, because whatever you are doing is working, in what is very much a bad property market.
Well Glenn, too many agents just want to sell you something, just because they have it in stock, rather than trying to understand what you as the buyer wants.
So John, are you saying you don't really want to sell them something, and get paid your commissions, so you can pay for your beach house and BMW?
Glenn, let me explain what I'm talking about, before you make any more assumptions about my commissions.
Please continue.
To sell real estate you need to understand the seller and the buyer's needs. So what better way to do that than having a coffee with them and discussing their needs?
But can't you just do it at your desk? And isn't coffee just an excuse for you to get out of the office and not doing your paperwork?
Ah, healthy skepticism about my methods, but I beg to differ, so I will continue to explain. The idea of coffee and the location of a nice beachside coffee shop like Enzo's on the beach is that it is on neutral ground, it is relaxing atmosphere, and it is far easier to build rapport.
I'm starting to follow this line of thinking, but what's rapport got to do with the product you are selling?
If you don't get rapport, then how can you have a real conversation, firstly with your seller, so you fully understand what their needs and wants are? That way you know what you are selling in the first place. If you don't understand this, you can't understand the motivation behind the selling process.
So you really believe you need coffee for this?
Well, put it this way, this method has been working well for me for years, and it gets the client's confidence at a lot quicker rate than a formal meeting. Dad always said if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
But what about the buyer? Don't tell me you will go and have another coffee with the buyer.
Well, funny you should ask. The answer is yes.
Come on John. This has got to be a ploy to get out of your paperwork. Simony and Sally at the office reckon you're notorious at running away from the paperwork.
I am all about results, not how much paper I have shuffled in a day.
Please continue. You are starting to sell me about this coffee idea.
Well, the buyer of commercial property usually has problems he or she wants you to solve, and that's why they are talking to a commercial agent.
So the coffee is going to help their problems.
Put it this way, a coffee won't hurt the problem, but seriously, no one really wants to buy a new building for work, or invest for longer-term gain, and even move their business into a new lease. It's normally just a means to an end.
So what is this process you are alluding to?
Understanding your buyer. Sit down in a relaxed atmosphere and ask them what they are really looking for, and try and separate their needs from their wants.
Aren't they similar?
No, not really. This is problem solving and qualifying the buyers at the same time.
John, you have certainly convinced me on your methods.
I am glad about that. So does that mean I don't have to do any more paperwork?
Why don't we go down to the coffee shop and discuss it?
Glenn, shall we take the new guy Steve and train him up on this coffee method?
Good idea. But what about Jim? Should he come as well?
No, someone has to stay back at the office and do the paperwork instead of me.